Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Schmucker Productions Podcast. Tonight's guest is Clarence Carter. He is an author, and he is also a scriptwriter. He has several books out. I've previewed a couple of them, and what I've been able to preview and look at, they're up there, and they'll get a hold of you. And as I said, he also helped on the script for the movie that's coming out, Jason in Indianapolis. He was a big part of that and still is. He's still part of our crew and always will be. So, Clarence, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and what your main objective is in life.
All right. Well, as you said, my name is Clarence Carter. I'm the author of like 7 books or something like that. The Rejected Ones, Shadows and Keyholes, A Girl Named Mishka. Those are my more popular ones. I'm from Maine, Stephen King country, as we call it. My main objective is I like to tell stories, not necessarily always scary stories, but stories in general. It just happens to be that a lot of them lean in the horror direction. But I've also written like crime fiction and young adult and stuff like that.
So when you start to write a book, do you you mentioned Stephen King, and that's one of my go-to novelists is Stephen. I could tell you some stories about things I found reading his books and connections and timelines that just blow your mind, because you're just so baffled about how he made these connections and then keeps them 20 years later and revisits them. And speaking of Stephen King, when you said that you do several different genres of writing, What is your inspiration, or how do you come up with a story? Like Stephen King, we all know either has nightmares, wakes up and writes a story, has a real life experience and writes it, or he sees or hears something. What's it for you?
Very similar. I tend to have some really interesting, very impactful dreams. Some of them go on to be horror stories, but I also have like a runaway imagination. So if I get bored, I'll just start thinking, what if this happened? Or what if that happened? And I ask myself, what if, a bunch of times, and sometimes it sort of steamrolls an idea.
So what is probably the worst thing that you had, like an experience or a dream that ended up becoming a book or a story?
I once had this really intricate nightmare that my brother kidnapped me, locked me into a basement, and tried to convince my family that they'd be better off without me. And it became a novelette or a novella called The Latchkey Kids.
Right on. That's good stuff right there. I can't write with a lick. I can write poetry, but I tried to write a story probably about 10 years ago called The Soul Catcher, and I probably had about 50, 60 pages of that. Mm-hmm. And as everybody knows if they watch, is I've been in and out of prisons in my early adult life. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it while I was in there. Mm-hmm. And when I came home, I lost it. And I can remember the gist of the thing that I wanted to write. And it was a nightmare. I had a dream, and it was like my 3rd time in the penitentiary. Mm-hmm. And I was in a big boy penitentiary. I mean, my bunkie was doing 5 consecutive life sentences for murder. So when I walked in, there's like, "Oh, you're getting paired with JT." I'm like, "Who?" "Yeah, you're getting paired with JT, man. He's a mass murderer. He in here for like 5 or 6 murders." I'm like, "Okay, so what? So what, man? He got like 6 life sentences." I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. That puts a whole different spin on the situation." So he was cool as hell. I bunked with him for like 2.5 years. One of the coolest dudes I ever been around. But that first night I had a nightmare. I woke up and he wasn't in the room, which I didn't hear the door open or nothing. I'm like, well, I'm going to go back to bed. I don't know what's going on. I laid back down. The door opens up and he walks in, but he's a big guy. He breathes heavy and he walks in and I was like in that stage of in and out. And I think the in and out put me into my sleep mode. It gave me the nightmare that he touched me and he took my soul. And I was like still living and being able to do everything that I could, but he knew everything about me. So anytime I did anything, he would know it. And I was like, I'm going to write a story. So never done it before. I started just writing down what was, this stupid little juvenile stuff you have to write in school, just no paragraphs, no sentences, nothing, just writing. And I was like, hey, this sounds good. And then I lost it.
That sucks.
We met through a mutual friend. And when you came on board to help out with the movie, you were, I think, wasn't you still writing a story at that time? I thought you was. Had you ever done a script or a screenplay before?
No.
No? Was it hard for you to do?
Yeah, a little bit. So I'd written, I think, maybe like one radio drama, so I kind of understood the format, but as far as screenwriting goes, no, the last year or so, I've been really doing a lot of that, not only for you, but I write for this radio drama group called Hellscape, and I've been writing commercials and stuff, and it's a lot of screenwriting in the last year, but prior to this movie, no, hardly at all.
So since coming onto the movie, you've kind of branched out a little bit in other areas.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. That's the goal of. I started this movie because I couldn't get into acting. I mean, I had a few roles, but they weren't nothing. It was, Detour, Just One Good Day, and Hashtag, and they're all web series and YouTube shorts or a film. Mm-hmm. And living in central Indiana, you either got to drive 4, 2, or 7 hours to get to anywhere where they're filming. Yeah. And then you got to get there on your dime, hope you do a good job so you get that paycheck at the end of the day. And then when you get home, you ain't got no money left because it just covered your gas to get there and back home. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep doing this. It's pointless. So I sat down, I said, I'm going to come up with a movie. And I did. We're in the middle of it now. And when I started to put this together, I was so confused about what to do. I had 5 actors, myself as a cameraman, my son as a cameraman, and I'm like, I'm just going to make something stupid and short. I had no script. Literally, Jason came to Indianapolis and created a havoc and left. And then a buddy of mine who's been in a couple mainstream horror films messaged me and said, hey, what's up with this film? I'm like, it's just a short, something stupid and silly just to do something. He goes, you're touching Jason, man. You've got to have a story. You just can't. People ain't going to take you serious as anything if you don't give it a storyline, a plot, something that's going to make them hang on through the whole movie. And that's what we ended up coming up with, you know, and my goal was to try to do something amateurish, silly as hell looking, or even good looking that gets out there and people see it and they'll be like, either that's garbage or they're going to be like, hey, that's for no money, for no knowledge, for no nothing at all.
Yeah. And
then maybe like you wrote a script, you posted about it, you talked about it, people reached out, and now you're working on more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the goal, is to take what I'm doing for everybody involved, and for people who's never done something, such as you, myself. Half of my actors have never acted, never been in front of a camera. And just showing people out there in the world that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And whether it's cheesy or not, or it's good or not, the point is, I had the balls enough to do something when a lot of other people would be like, oh, you can't do this. And they take it. I don't, no offense to you, but I don't know you. And if you told me, hey, you can't do that, I'm going to like, man, who the hell are you? I don't know you. And people let dreams get shattered, ideas get shattered. And I want people to be able to, half of my actors are like, I've always wanted to be an actress, or I've always wanted to do this, and never get a platform, don't know how to get a platform, don't know what steps to take. And then they're like, hey, I'm interested. I've always wanted to be in a movie. Well, come on, send me your information. Let me see what you look like. How old are you? Send me your voice. Let me see what you can do. And now I got over 50 actors. I've got 10 crew members. Through this process in 9 months, which we're now in the 11th month or 10th month, in the last few months, I got a production team. They're helping me with this podcast. They're helping me with my film. And, you get all these scam artists. I'm sure you've gotten your hellified thing being an author. You probably get so many spam bullshit coming in and be like, hey, put your book on our platform. Hey, we want to release your book. Hey, and then you ain't even got no followers. You got 2 pictures in your Facebook and no Instagram. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Really? And that's what I'm trying to do, is get people a place where they can talk, mm-hmm. where they can act. On my music, I have 1 IMBD credited author, and that's artist, and that's Adelita's Way. Mm-hmm. They had a song on SmackDown, and they're a major musical touring act. Been with some mm-hmm. big, huge names. They gave me permission to use a song because I did. I was at a show that I worked, and I got to meet them. But all my other artists and musicians, I know them. I know them personally. And some was like, "Hey, do you need any more songs for your film?" Well, yeah, I'm sure I can fit something in. I don't have to. And it's like, will my whole song be in it? Have you never seen a movie before? Well,
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you're going to get like maybe 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. You may get a minute if it calls for that. Mm-hmm. I said the only 2 people that are going, 3 people. No, that's right. 2 people that's in my film that have a full song is my composer who wrote the score, mm-hmm. and then Anna, who wrote a song for the film. So, of course, I'm going to give both of them ultimate airplay through the film because they made something for it, just like you did. And that's why with my credits, I'm having a hard time developing them because, you got Mike, you've got yourself. I'm not the writer. I'm a story by Samuel Schmucker, written, screenplay written by you 2. Mm-hmm. And I want, that's why somebody's like, well, you wrote it's your idea, it's your story, it's your film. I'm like, it's my story, but it's not my script because my story wasn't written. I told them what I wanted. They wrote it. I said, so I don't get that credit. That's not me. Yeah. And they're like, well, you should get it. I'm like, no. And that's why when you look at film, you see 9 names and 6 names is because those were proper directors and producers. They gave that person credit for everything they did. Whether they went and got coffee and went and drove and ran an errand, they got a credit for that because they did something. And with you, that's why I wanted to get you on, because Mike's a little hard to get a hold of sometimes. And I knew that you had a thing going for you. You've got published works of art out there. You have original, they're yours. And, you know, whether you're an author or a musician, nobody gets to see a lot. You know, they have to either know you, know somebody who follows you, or is really animate into reading to come across your stuff. And it's the same with all my other people that I try to get on this podcast.
Yeah.
And because when I go research, I find you. But if I'm a horror, if I love horror novels, or I love just reading, you don't know where the stories are. I don't know who this person is. I don't know who that person is. Do I want to go spend $9.99 or $39.99 on a book that I don't know nothing about because it looks good and sounds good?
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted you to get on here, because I've read parts of that, your last book you put out. And it's just, you know, a phenomenal way of the way you take what's up here and you put it out there. And that's what people need to know about where you come from and how your ideas come, because you could be the next inspiration for some little kid, some 40-year-old man that's been trying to write a story and doesn't know what to do. And I never thought about looking at my dreams. I have all kinds of stupid dreams. Let me sit down and start writing these out.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing why when I reached out and said I wanted to talk to you about your books as well as your writing inspirations, is because I want you to have a platform. I want you to get out there and I want you to succeed farther than where you are now and keep rising that ladder, because that's where I'm trying to go. And if I know you follow me, so you see my hands are in a podcast, a movie, security, photography, because I've got a disabled son and my wife has medical problems that require me that I can't work a full-time job. No place is going to say out here, yeah, go ahead, take care of your wife. I'll see you tomorrow. They're going to be like, you leave, you're fired. So I got to find my way to survive in this world, as well as profit, as well as do something I'm going to like. You love writing. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
I do landscaping during the day because I love it. And then the movie, because I want to be an actor. I want to get into the film industry and do something. You know, I wanted to be a wrestler when I was a kid. And then, you know, I'm 40 years old. That'll never happen. And so with being involved with everything you are, what does normal everyday life look for you then? Like, do you get up and get right into work, or do you do other things leading up to?
Unfortunately for me, I still work a day job. I don't make enough money off of writing to do it on its own. I wish I did, but I don't. During the day, I build medical supplies. It's tedious, but I like working with my hands, so I'd much rather do that than work in an office. And then usually I write around maybe 6 in the afternoon-ish. I get home, spend a little time with my wife, my stepson, my dog, whatever, get comfortable, get relaxed, maybe drink some tea, and then I get to the end. Unfortunately, I have a lot of projects that I alternate between. I don't like doing it. I like focusing on one thing, but lately, I don't know, my mind's been wandering a lot, so I've been working on a whole bunch of crap. I'm also trying to write my own screenplay as well. I've been working on a horror anthology series that I've been calling Myths and Monsters. And I just took a bunch of my short stories that I've written over the years, and I've been turning them into screenplays. And I'd like to pitch it to some network somewhere, and see what we can do. But I'm also about to put out another novel later this year, and that's a lot of work.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm busy, and like I said, I write for an audio drama podcast called Hellscape, so I do that from time to time as well. So I've got my hands pretty full.
Sounds like it. That's how it is with me too. You know, doing these. Like this week, I had 3.
Yeah.
And then I got the movie, which I've had to postpone a couple dates because it's so freaking hot that it was like almost 100 here on the day I was supposed to shoot, and I was just like, "Hey, look, can we reschedule? It is too hot to put on this entire costume."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, that's not a problem. I agree with you. It's super hot."
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, when you writing doesn't pay the bills, you have to have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I completely get that, because landscaping is my full-time job when I can go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't make any money off of the podcast. I don't make no money off the movie.
No.
And when I get the opportunity, I make $30 to $50 doing some photography, or doing a bit. Like I had a good time working at Jerry the King of Lawler's show, doing photography and video. Was an ultimate wrestling fanatic dream. I felt like a 10-year-old being able to sit and talk with some of these wrestling legends privately in a room by myself with some of these. And the most amazing thing from that was right here, I have a WWE legend that's been in the industry for over 30 some years.
Yeah.
He's got a brother. I'm not going to mention names, but he's got a brother, and they're known. They were tag team, and I did so good with him and networked with him, and we just made a connection that he was like, "Hey man, take my number down, and if you're in an event or something like that," and I recorded his whole concert and sent it to him, and he was so happy with it that he posted it on Instagram and tagged me in it. And
nice.
For me to see one of my childhood wrestling idols, that I was a kid and I'm watching him on TV, and here I am 30 years later, and my name is on his social media post saying thank you.
Yeah.
Just that makes me feel good as a person to know that I did something productive and made someone happy with what I did. And that's the same thing with you as a writer, that like I said, I'm a Stephen King aficionado. I love the man's work.
Yeah.
I have literally did research. I wrote a freaking essay in college about him, if that tells you anything. And when you write a story and someone reads it, everybody interprets it a different way. They take it for how they see it, hear it, and you have a way with words. When you take it from your brain and you put it into the paper, put it on the whatever typewriter, and you turn it out, it's like you're right here. Like I could see where you're coming from, because that's how you do it. And when you can capture a certain thought or a certain image that we can't see, and you put it out there, and now we can see it, or we can hear it, or we can feel it. That's the true definition of being able to tell a story. And that's what you do, is you push that boundary to get the reaction that you want. And a lot of people that write just to write the story and get done with it. But you have put subtle details in there that make someone hold on and be like, "Ooh, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but okay, let's see what else we got," because that's what you want. You want them to hang on. You want them to keep grasping. Damn, that was a fire book. What else has this dude got? And then, bam, now you got followers. You got people who are, hey man, when's your next book coming out? You know, and that's why when you reached out to me, or I reached out to you, one of us reached out to somebody at the beginning, and I went and looked you up, and I read a little bit about it. I was like, because I love reading books, so I went and read some things. I was like, okay, yeah, you could, yeah, come on and join the team. I like the way you write. Come and join that team. And I appreciate you coming on board and doing that, because, like I said, with no budget on my hands, that was the most horrendous thing I have ever went through, trying to find people, trying to, you know, and I'm sure that you've gotten people saying, you know, why are you doing this when you could be doing that? And, you know, you shouldn't be doing this when you should be doing this. And, you know, I reached out. Negative comments drive me insane. I can't stand them.
Yeah.
I just, you don't know who I am, but yeah, you're going to sit there and talk straight cash shit about me, and I don't know who you are just because you don't like me. And I wanted to make sure, because I had already lost some people. Sure. I thought I lost Mike, so I had to go look you up and see, because I didn't know who you were at that time. And I'm like, oh, this dude can write. Yeah, I definitely want him. Come on, you can join the team. I'd be happy to have you. And so I don't know if I've ever told you. I want to tell you now. Thank you for contributing to the script, giving it your insight, and working with Mike to bring together what I have. I love my script, and if I had the money to take what is written there and actually go forth with it, it'd be a phenomenal movie.
Right.
And I want you to keep pushing your boundaries. Don't stop, because, you know, you have a dream, and your dream is to do what you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck that day job. You won't be doing that, because you're working for yourself now. And keep doing it. And the more and more ideas that come to you, write them down. I love that idea that you say you just wake up and start writing. That's wonderful. So is there anything you want to tell our viewers, or talk to me about, or anything you want to just put out there?
Oh, I could talk endlessly. I could talk forever. Let's see. Well, yeah, actually, I have a handful of questions for you. So, after Jason is finished in, what did you say, September?
I finish in August. Hopefully, beginning of August, I'll wrap up, and I'll spend the whole month of August editing, getting it all together with my team, and then it'll come out on the 13th of September.
And then what's the next project?
I've got 4 ideas in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one, without spoiling it, anything. It's 2 of them are masks. Mm-hmm. They're horror genre thriller styles. One involves a scarecrow. Mm-hmm. And I have an idea of where I want to go with it, but I also got to keep in mind I'm not going to have a budget, so I also have to edit my own ideas into how I can play with this story.
Yeah.
The other one, I wouldn't call it a hockey mask, but I think it is a hockey mask. It's a skull, and it's got the little pad right in the back of the head, and then got like 2 or 3 straps coming around it. Mm-hmm. And it's something I had never seen of. And I bought it, brought it home, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do something with that one day. And I came up with a good title for the villain, the Tormentor. And I figured the name of the movie could be The Tormented. Mm-hmm. But I haven't came up with a story or even played with it. I just know one day I'm going to touch that and we're going to find something. The Scarecrow, I've got 3 or 4 different ideas for a story where it could go, but I'm not a story writer. I have the ideas. I can tell you what I see, where I'd like to see it go, but I couldn't tell you anything else. I thought about doing a documentary about John Dillinger. He was born and raised just south of Indianapolis, where I live, and he traveled all up and down the state. Got shot in Chicago, and I figured, everybody and their brother has done a Dillinger something. I want to touch base with Dillinger of the before and the after. This is where he lived when he grew up. This is what it looks like today. This is what he's done with his life, and this is what has happened after he's died. Do a little doco series and maybe touch base with some history things here in Indianapolis, because Indianapolis is, I think, second to Washington, D.C. as having the most military monuments and memorials. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to come and touch base onto that. Of course, my podcast, I want to try to get it more, of course, more professional, because I'm still learning.
Sure.
I'm watching videos to learn how to interact, but you get a list of questions, unless you're Johnny Carson with a producer behind your head, you're not going to cover half the things you write down, because it's just that's why I asked at the beginning, do you like to free flow? Do you want to do you have a certain way? Because a lot of people who do podcasts are used to a systematic line of questioning, and they stick with it. And then other people do interviews and they're just, hey man, how you doing? What you up to, man? And that's kind of how I want my podcast to be, is laid back. It's tagged explicit, because if you smoke, I don't care. I smoke. And if you got the nick, get the nick and hit do what you got to do, because I don't care. This is your house when you're here. It's just like a musician. You come to the venue, that's their house. And I want you to be comfortable and, not have to figure out how to watch your words, or can I do that? As long as you ain't getting naked and jumping up and down, I don't give a care. You can say what you want to say, and we roll with the punches. But those are a few of the things outside of trying to get this popping off, more gigs with photography.
Sure.
But and then I have a Pamela Voorhees story.
Yeah, you did tell me about that.
I haven't. Me and my wife's been talking, and I'm liking what she said. I'm liking what I'm coming up with, but the dynamics of it is trying to figure out how to put it together and do it. That's the problem. I know where I want it to go. I know what I need, but that middle part is, can I get it?
The middle of anything is usually pretty difficult.
Yes.
I've been podcasting for a long time. I have one we've been doing it for like 4 years. It's called The Writer's Block. And I can tell you, after having done whatever it is, 70 some odd episodes, the free flow is usually better. And I've also been a guest on a bunch of them. And the ones that you're talking about, and like the way that they format the question after question after question, all of them sound very stilted. They sound very... and also, if a person doesn't know how to conversate and control the conversation and have fun and tell anecdotes and stuff, they always sound... Well, first of all, they go very short. And they always sound very scripted. And So the free flow usually works better. I mean, there are people who hide behind the questions and they're afraid to branch out from it. But I've found that it's always easier to, free flow. Especially, it does help if you know the person a little bit. Like you looked into my work prior, which is probably a good move. And I would highly recommend, if an interviewer is doing an interview with somebody, at least look at some of their projects and have a little bit of a clue. But yeah, and you're going to get the hang of it. A big part of it for people is getting comfortable in front of the camera, getting comfortable in front of the microphone, listening to the sound of your own voice. It sounds a lot different out there than it does in here. But over time, you get comfortable. And like I said, I've been podcasting for a long time. I've been writing for a long time, so I've been on a lot of podcasts. So I've just gotten comfortable, I guess. And you'll get there too.
I'm good being in front of the camera. I mean, I do security for musicians, so I'm used to being on a stage half the time or doing photography on the stage. Mm-hmm. So being in the limelight don't really bother me, but it's when you put the spotlight on me, like without me knowing that you're about to throw that spotlight on them. Now, boom, huh? What? That's where I lose control. Like, what would you say? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know he was talking to me. But I'm learning how to do it. Like I just had a lady on the other night, and it was a 30-minute episode. Mm-hmm. But thank you. She's a poet, mm-hmm. and she self-published 2 books. Sure. And so not having a lot of history behind you for you requesting to be a guest on my show was hard for me to figure out dynamics to keep things going. Mm-hmm. And, I believe I've done 2 30-minute shows, and both of them were just short. I don't know why, but just short. Yeah. And then I did one with my composer the other day, and it was over an hour and like 20 minutes. Because he started telling me a story, and it just went for like 30 minutes. And we were back and forth and back and forth and back, and it just like clicked. And I'm like, okay, that's the longest one I've done. Yeah. And I know all these people except for maybe 3 of the people I've interviewed. I know all of them. Yeah. And some are just, you get to the point and then you're good. Others, you get to the point and they want to tell you some more, and I'm happy with that too, because that keeps it going. Like with the Almas, Crystal and Frank, they, I worked on their show, and they came on and they gave me their music video before it was posted. It was going to be posted a few days later, but my podcast wasn't going to be out for a week or two. They're like, well, don't share this, but here's the video. And you can use this in the podcast since it's going to come out after. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, just don't let nobody see it. I'm like, okay, I won't. And I got to see it, and I'm like, that's dynamic right there. That's kind of, that made me feel like a little kid in a candy store. I got to see something nobody else got to see yet. That's cool as shit. And so, like you said, when you have a rapport, it's easier to talk because you can just back and forth. And that's where I'm trying to learn.
Also, that's not a terrible idea. If you did some filming for like local musicians, make some music videos, you could really cut your teeth. I have a wrestler that asked me to do a music video for his theme song for his entrance, and we're talking about it. And but yeah, I'm thinking about getting with my other guys. They have a whole production crew, so they have film and photography. They just basically invite me to the show. If I want to come out and hang out or help out, I'm welcome. So, but I have been trying to get into doing a music video or 2, because I think that'd be pretty dynamic to be able to get involved with it, especially if it's somebody I know and I like their music. Yeah. It'll be worth doing. And I also think you should consider doing a wrestling movie because you're so passionate about it, because it's something that you love talking about and you light right up when you bring it up. So wrestling movie in the future. Write it down.
I actually have I don't know if you I don't want to mention his name. I don't want to damage that.
Yeah.
But he is a son of a legend.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been in talks about him doing a docuseries or a documentary about him growing up in the industry and then becoming the industry. And he's wanting me to do something like that with him, and I'm thinking about taking that idea and hitting some of my other wrestling friends up, some of my other musician friends up, and try to do like, you know, a 30-minute or a 1-hour little skit of, you know, where did you come from and how did you get here? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, like my local guys, everything can be shot and done right here in Indiana. Sure. But, you know, when you get some people that don't live here, it's a little more hard pressed to get footage and things. And that's, I've got those ideas. I'm on the same table. I just haven't figured out how to do it.
Oh, awesome. That's what I like to hear. Also, don't be afraid to be experimental with the way you shoot your film. So take a chance. See how it works. Like, if you've seen, also don't be afraid to copy, you know, camera angles. Don't steal or plagiarize, obviously, but there's a way to film that is sort of paying an homage to other great films. And I'm sure that you're very familiar with the whole series, and I'm sure that you're, you know, so if you can pay an homage to the way that they were filmed, even if it's just shooting Jason in the right angle, at the right light, at the right whatever, you know, and sometimes that little nudge is perfect. You're not stealing the idea, you're just sort of replaying an angle or a lighting or even, you know, maybe the way he kills, something specific. But
that's what I implicated Pamela, and I've implicated, because if you remember right, in part 3, in the shed, he had an altar made for his mom, and it got destroyed. You never heard about his mom's head or anything else ever again. I've taken the head. I've gave him a new altar. This ring is actually in the film on my hand, and I didn't notice it, which made me go back and do a rewrite of the very beginning of the opening when he actually is there and he's in his hideout getting ready to come to Indianapolis. And this is in that bunch of junk that he salvaged from his hideout in part 3. He salvaged some things. This was one of them, and this will be shown in the film as he picks it up and goes like this with it. And so that saves me face down the road, and somebody's like, "Hey man, Jason's married? Why has he got a ring on?" Yeah, I see. You know, hey, scene 5 right there by that car. He's got a ring on his finger, and well, now I ain't gonna have to worry about that because I wrote it into the story. And I've thrown other little things back as a tribute. Like I said, his mother's head, the visions of Pamela talking to him. I've got a sweater that looks like hers.
Nice.
I've got a knife that looks like hers. It's going to be on the altar.
Yeah.
Some spots throughout the film, my editor is going to take that old 80s VHS tape he's going to add some of those in throughout the film to kind of give it an 80s VHS kick to it. Like, oh shit, what's wrong with my TV, Smack?
Yeah.
And I start off in Crystal Lake, and I come to Indianapolis, and I go back to Crystal Lake. So that gives another homage to Crystal Lake, which seems to be the biggest hype all of a sudden with all these new series and films coming out that, you know, people ask me, how can you get away with using Jason and do this? And I just told them, reach out to the people who have permissions. Victor Miller wrote the story.
Yeah.
I got the blessing.
Yeah.
For a small section, I got a blessing. Sean Cunningham, I got a small section. Warner Brothers, we don't care as long as you don't do this.
Yeah.
New Line Cinema, hey, they own the image because of the toys, the merchandise. They own the image of Jason. So I reached out to them, and they're like, do you have an image that you plan on using for your film? And I'm like, yeah, my mask isn't done yet, and my costume's not done, but I can show you what I've been shown. And I sent the emails to them. They're like, you are 100% original. Nothing there touches anything that we own. You're good to go. Cool. And then I wrote Paramount. Paramount said the same thing. Don't do this, and we're all good. And so I've done that. And then the last person was Henry Manfredi. He wrote the theme song.
Yeah.
I can't get in touch with him. Can't find him. It's copyrighted, trademarked, and registered. And I'm sitting here going, all right, this dude made a fan film. He used it. This guy made a fan film. He used it. How did they get away with using it? But yet if I use it, I'm breaking one of these cardinal rules over here that I was told not to do.
Right.
Okay, screw you. I'm going to come up with my own theme music for my Jason. This is my Jason. New Line Cinema said, hey, that's original. Okay, well, I'm going to make everything in my movie original. There ain't no Camp Crystal Lake. There ain't no Voorhees in my film.
Yeah.
So when you hear Jason and Crystal Lake, I mean, okay, it's Friday the 13th, but it ain't Friday the 13th.
Fair enough. That's awesome. We also have to talk about C.J. Graham.
Oh, yes. And Beatrice Popel.
Yeah. So I actually met him. I met C.J. Graham. I was doing a convention here in Maine. I believe I was in Portland. I've been to a lot of them lately. Yeah, I think I was in Portland, and he was there signing whatever. And my wife and I were there, and she pushed me, like literally pushed me almost into his arms and said, "Tell him about the movie." So I was sitting there pitching him your movie, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm writing this fan film," and this was days before you said that he was signing on to be involved somehow.
Oh, that explains what his wife said to me. I had reached out to him on social media, and then his wife wrote back saying, I'm his social media person. I'm his wife, Ruby. I'm like, nice to meet you. And how, she goes, CJ's interested. Tell us what you got and what you're looking for. And I did, and it took a couple weeks because he had a couple conventions. He was doing some other filming, and then he goes, I have CJ free for another 30 minutes. What do you want him to say in the scene? And I'll get it sent over to you within the hour. And I told her, and within 15 minutes, I had it. And I was like, wow, okay. But she said, yeah, somebody. We heard about that a couple days before you actually reached out to him. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, we heard about the film coming out, and he was interested after hearing about it, but, with convention life, he kind of lost track of it. And I'm like, sure. Well, I'm glad I was able to reboot his memory. She goes, yeah, so that makes sense now. Yeah.
I met him. I think it was at Maine Comic and Toy Con in Portland. We've been touring, my friend Sean and we've been touring our books a lot lately, which involves a lot of conventions and a lot of random markets, farmers markets, stuff like that, artisan fairs. And we've been on what we've been calling the accidental tour.
Are you just staying on the East Coast right now?
Yeah, we're New England for right now. But if the opportunity to go further comes up and we can afford it, because we have budget restrictions too.
Well, if you come to Indiana, you make sure you hit me up.
Yeah.
CJ's coming to Indiana. He's coming to the Days of the Dead. What is today? He is coming here on the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th of July, and I'm working the show.
Nice.
And I'm trying to talk in my actors that are from here. Go get your ticket and come to the show because you can meet CJ, who's in our film. They're like, really? Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and then Beatrice Bopel was reached out to someone who's in my film and said, hey, what's up with this film? And then I wrote to her and we started talking back and forth, and we had to come up with an agreement because of her agents and management and everything else. We had to figure out a way for her to be involved without her working for free, because she doesn't work for free. And so I was able to sit down and hash it out with her, and we came up with a good thing that worked out for both of us, and it worked out, and I was happy with it. I mean, it was a small little task to have to do, but it also was like, I got to do it. I got to have her. I got to have her. That just those two people's names alone in the film is phenomenal. Then I got Mel Heflin. She's got over 100 film credits. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep going. If somebody else reaches out from Hollywood and says, hey, man, you need to, yes, I do. Come on with it. I'll find a scene for you.
Yeah. We'll throw you in the trunk.
Yeah, hey, come out the trunk. Come out and kill him. Come out and fight him. Something. Well, what you doing in the trunk? Man, you saved my life. Well, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But I want to cover one more thing with you. When this project is done, and I've rested from this horrendous experience. I say it's horrendous, but it's not. But it's horrendous if you've never done nothing. Like, dude, this thing I'm on, this laptop, I ain't touched one in 20 years. That's it.
Yeah.
And then editing, movie editing programs, music programs, and having to watch this and watch that, and then learn how to, anybody can shoot a video, but, do you want your video to be like this? No. That's what this thing comes in handy for.
Yep. Right
there.
Yep.
And I have like 3 of these things for this, for my video camera, for my camera. And, I wanted to do it. I wanted to have the 80s cheesy, low budget look, but I also wanted to look good enough that I try to put my heart and soul in it with what I had to use and with what knowledge I had.
Yeah.
When I've rested from this and I got my brain back, I want to come back and touch base with you again down the road, along with hopefully Mike and some of my cast members, and see if we can all hash out ideas for something in the future. Because I know you love to write, and I want to be able to continue to feed that, because you turn out fire-ass stuff. Mike was the head of this project over here, and when I do my next project, I'm trying to move forward with other people, but keep the people that Mike's been with me since day one. And and no matter what I do in the future, paid or not paid, I'm going to always give him an offer to help out. And you've been there since
day two.
Well, More or less, yeah, day 2. And I want you to, when I get ready to hit one of these next 2 projects, that offer is for you to take that lead and develop it, whatever you want to develop from the idea. I want a script that I don't know nothing about. I just want to say, this is here's my antagonist, and I don't know what he is, but here's what he looks like, and he's a tormentor. I need a story. The Scarecrow, I can help with. I can give you ideas, and I can play and give you storylines and plots, and we can play with that. But I want you to have full control on the tormentor when that day comes. As I think with what I've read from your stories and things that I've been able to find, that I think you can take that, and like I said, there's no time frame. I'm not in no big freaking rush. You're busy, I'm busy. A year from now or so, we can come back and rehash and see where we're at and re-talk about it. But I'm giving you that offer that you can have to think about for the next year to think it over and hit me back one day, because I want something from you that's gonna stand out.
That's gonna be my own flavor, my own style, my own.
I'm just gonna give you the character and what he looks like, and then you can run with it.
Sounds fun.
I know you got a storm there, and
Sure.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight. And I want to revisit with you again probably after the movie comes out. I'm going to probably use my production team's Zoom link when I decide to do it after the film. I'm going to try to get as many of my actors that I'm allowed to have at one time on a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Try to bring us all together just so we can all talk about whatever.
A rap party?
A big old rap party. Big old Jason party.
Sounds good.
I know you got your piece of memorabilia. It's hanging on your wall.
Yeah, I have the sign up there, and I also have a mask in a box behind me.
Right on.
It's not a quality great one. It's just like a cheap Halloween decoration.
I got 4 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 2 good made masks, but my one mask, I'll never get rid of it. Yep, I got that one too.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the first one I used for my film. If you look at the original poster on IMDb,
Yeah.
that's the mask I was wearing.
Nice.
I'm also going to, while we're here, I'm going to say I will be printing out a poster, maybe just one, and I'm going to be mailing it off to everybody to sign it, because I want to be able to put something up as a memory of something that I accomplished. And that's why I'm not doing it until after the film comes out. Give it a couple months to see where it goes.
Sure.
But eventually I'm going to do that, because I want to, we all live in different states. We all live far apart from each other, and may or may never get to ever kick it with each other in person. And I want to be able to have something on my wall that I can show my son, because my son's in the film too.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to have something that I can pass down to him, or he can take it to school and be like, hey, look, I was in this film. My dad made this, and show it to him and see the names on it and talk about it. And so I'll be sending that out, and I'm probably going to print out. That's the other thing I was going to ask you while we're here. Mike's going to try to do it, but I'm also wanting you, when you see the movie, I'm going to send the script that I have, the finished script. I want to send that to you with the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like Mike's going to try to do, if he can, is fix the script, revise it from the film, so the script and the film match.
Mm-hmm.
because there's, like I said, there's a lot of dynamics in the film that's not in the script because things happened. So I appreciate you. I hope your books continue to go up that ladder and out there, and keep doing them trailers for them books, because that last one was freaking fire.
Yeah, I've got to get another one going.
And anytime you want to come out and be on here, or if you see somebody I've posted that you want to come on and be a co-host with me, I'd very much appreciate it, man. I just, my door is always open to you at any time.
Likewise.
I appreciate that. I'll let you go and let you get safe since this weather's out there.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching tonight. If you don't know Clarence, please check out the links that I will be posting in the comments, as well as on my social media of Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your podcast, you'll be able to find it. This is Mr. Clarence Carter, author and scriptwriter for our movie, Jason in Indianapolis. Please go check out some of his work. Share it and blow it up. This man deserves to be seen and heard because he has a dynamic voice with his fingers when he puts it out there. So please, if you follow me, please go follow him. I thank everyone. Thank you again, Clarence, and I'll be in touch with you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye,
Yes,
everybody.
sir.
Are you gonna spread love or hate? Are you gonna spread love or hate? Are you gonna spread love?